Good morning, everyone. My name is Dominic Tiberi. I'm the Senior Project Manager for the Town of Stoughton, Owner's Project Manager. With me here is Matteo Battista. He's the Senior Project Manager for Consigli Construction. We're going to do an overview where we have been and where we're going. I just want to direct some, and we can talk about these later, but we have some renderings out here. The renderings are items that we reviewed with public safety as far as the upcoming September traffic situation when the new school opens up. So you'll see on my left, the first rendering is phase 1. Then in the spring of 2020 will be phase 2. And then when the football field, soccer field, and track and tennis courts are completed will be the final rendition, basically, of the traffic patterns. That'll be it. We'll be done with the schools. There'll be also some landscaping, I guess. Matteo's going to do a projection. We have a screen out front here, and he'll sit down and talk about it, and I'll have Matteo talk a little bit about the construction. But I just want to let you know that we're in probably, as far as the schedule goes, we're right on the schedule marks that Consigli had produced for us. The academic building, which has all our classrooms, are pretty much done except for flooring and some minor items there. We're working on the public side, the auditorium, the gymnasium, all the above ceiling or on the ceiling in the gymnasium, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing is completed. Now we're doing the finish work there. The cafeteria side, plumbing in the cafeterias being completed and mechanicals are being completed. All the finish work in the main street of the high school is now being also completed. So overall, we're in great shape. On the construction side, I'll just give you a quick overview on the things that you don't actually see behind the scenes. And one of the things that usually we don't talk about in these public forums, but it's the transition of going from an old school to the new school. Since October of this past year, we have been talking to the faculty about getting materials ready and put in boxes as they finish their curriculum for that particular time period. Also asking them to take away materials that they've kept. Teachers are notorious pack rats, so things that they've kept for the last 10 years, please take home with you or get rid of. And we have dumpsters all around the building, and the teachers have been great about getting rid of materials that they don't need any longer. We're doing that with recycling. We've also had proposals come in for move management to move these boxes and materials over to the new high school. We actually made a recommendation. We're going to be using a local mover, Isaac Moving. They came in with a good value price, and I say that because there were some prices that were lower, actually one, but Isaac seems to cover everything we had talked about, so that was the reason we went with Isaac. The other thing, too, is we have a couple of firms looking at anything that is going to be left here. As I will bring up later, but anything that's going to be left here, which could be the cafeteria tables and chairs and desks and classroom, we're going to recycle. We're going to reclaim those, and the company will redistribute it. Most recently, a lot of these redistributions have gone down to the south where they've been affected by hurricanes. So that material will probably be in some school down in the south. So we also have completed our furniture and equipment purchases. Well, actually, we are putting the purchase orders together so that we can have those, the new chairs, new desks, new tables, everything else come in the summer in conjunction with coordinating with Consigli as they finish up the project. We're actually having a rummage sale, meaning that we're having the district schools come in through here to take a look at some of the furniture that's not going over to the new school so that they may be able to utilize it. And then we also offer it to the town agencies. So the town agencies, so everything is in here. We're going to try to recycle as much as we can. And whatever is left, Consigli will be taken care of at the end of the project. At the end of the completion of the new high school, we have about 6 weeks to get out of the old high school before Consigli takes over, and they will start working on abating the old high school, cleaning it out completely. They'll be cutting the power, and then they'll start to demolish the building sometime October. Um, Trying to think of anything else that's sort of behind the scenes. That's about it, really. I'm going to have Mateo talk a little bit about where we've been as far as the construction, some of the things that are coming up in the next months, April, May, and June. Everything is basically wrapping up to finishes. Everything is getting ready for testing. We also have part of our behind the scenes is our training sessions with the staff and faculty here. So that's coming up. We've already put that calendar together and they're being reviewed by the administration here. That's about it. I'll turn it to Mateo and then we'll do a little bit of slideshow and then we'll take questions.
Yes, and I think I'll actually do this while we're going through the slideshow. So one of the things that my team and I do is we maintain a website called Struction Site. And so essentially what that does is that allows us to take 360 photos throughout the building on a daily basis so as to kind of monitor the progress. Do I need this one?
I think you do.
This one doesn't do anything?
No.
That's for me.
Gotcha. You guys can hear me though, right?
Yeah.
Let me know if I'm being too quiet. So it allows us to monitor the progress of the job, make sure that we're putting everything in place, right? We want to be able to, once the walls are up, say, hey, what did we put in there, right? Make sure that that we know where all our systems are. So I'm just going to go through and kind of show a few different sections. So this is actually the third floor of B building. So if you look at the building, the two buildings that are the northmost quadrants of the building, those are known as B and C building. So those are the classroom wings, right? So that's where all the classrooms are located. And then on the south, you have A1 and A2. A1 is to the southwest. That's where the auditorium is. And then the more rectangular portion to the southeast, that's where the gym is. So that's A2. So this picture right here on the screen is a building in B, third floor. And we kind of started in B and worked our way counterclockwise and then moved our way down. So this was one of the earlier sections of construction. So this was back in July 2nd of 2018, so about 9 months ago. And as you can see, very bare bones. So you see a lot of these are studs, our steel studs. We've put up some masonry walls. There's really nothing above head. They've started to put a little bit of ductwork. But then we'll go to, let's see, move to September, all right? So now you see a lot more mechanical rough. So that we've started to install the plumbing, the ductwork, the electrical conduits. We've actually started to put up boards, so you have drywall going up, a little bit of taping. Now we actually have some temporary protection on the exterior walls. Let's move forward a little bit. Let's look at December. So now we have some finishes in place, right? Ceiling grid is in place. We're starting to flood the ceilings, which is to say putting in those finished devices, the lights, sprinklers. Now you have paint on the wall. We're starting to move in the casework. All of the classrooms have a teacher wardrobe and then general storage. Now the walls are, have probably their first coat. And then I'll show you what it looks like now. And so this is essentially the finished state, right? So we still have final coat of paint to do. But now you see the ceiling is fully flooded, which is to say it has all of the ACT tiles in it. All of the devices have been installed. We have the different magnetic boards or whiteboards. Here's a projection screen. Flooring's been installed. This is flooring protection that you're seeing. So once those final finishes are installed, we typically protect them until we turn over. And then you have casework as well. So that's really where we've come from in the last 9 months or so. And now let's take a look at some of the other spaces. So we'll go to second floor. So the second floor, both has the gym, and then the auditorium we can see on the second floor as well. But let's move to the gym. So this is what it looked like about 9 months ago. We had just erected steel. They were still installing the slab, and we hadn't even installed the slab. We just had decking in place, right? This kind of metal structure upon which you put on the floor. And we'll fast forward a couple months. Let's go to November. Now that gym is more enclosed. We have the masonry walls going up. We have the concrete slab. And then let's go to where we are right now. And so this was a few days ago, right? So now all the ceiling work's been done. You have all of your ductwork installed, all of your kind of gym equipment, right? So you have a bunch of basketball courts. This is a mat hoist, I believe. And then there's also a batting cage that is kind of hoisted up in the air, and they can lower it down and have batting practice in there. The floor has been prepped, so all of the floors throughout the building have a moisture mitigation system. So that's essentially a subflooring beneath whatever the final flooring is going to be, so as to prevent any moisture from coming in and disrupting that flooring. So and that's kind of where we are right now. You see a bunch of acoustical panels. They painted the ductwork a really cool orange.
You're going to be bringing, I don't can't hear you say, you're going to be bringing the wood flooring.
Right. Yep. So we've now installed kind of the final section of the subflooring, and this week we're bringing in the final wood flooring, right? So it's going to come in. They're going to kind of acclimate the flooring. It needs to stay in the building for about a week, so as to expand to the proper expansion, and then they'll start installing that. And so that's kind of where we are overall. As Dom mentioned, the classroom wings, that B and C classrooms, those are largely complete. They're kind of finishing up the finishes on the first floor, and then going through with the flooring. It's mostly complete on the third floor. Second floor flooring is ongoing. And now everything is kind of winnowing down to that kind of main, this is kind of your main thoroughfare through the building, right? So this is these are your main entrances. And so that's where a lot of our work is ongoing, in those lobbies, in the cafeteria areas. Any questions?
Do you have a photo of the auditorium?
Yes, I do. That's a great, yeah.
You had a question?
In the classrooms, I know the building is climate controlled. Will you be able to open any windows?
Yes. You have the capability of opening, I'm not sure how many.
I think there's one operable window in every.
Opens 4 inches. There's a code issue for that. That's why we don't open them wide. But there are operable windows in every single classroom. The idea is that you do get fresh air. The standard operating procedure will probably be that the second shift custodial staff will make sure those are closed, because it does wreak havoc on your mechanical systems if they're not closed, and then you have a dip in the temperature that night. So, but if it's a beautiful spring day, you can open and get some fresh air.
Well, we discovered when we renovated Town Hall, that was a big plea. Even though it's fully air conditioned, the employees still wanted to be able to open the windows.
Yeah.
And sometimes climate control doesn't work all the time.
So, but if you want to show a couple months back, that would be.
Yeah, I'm trying to find one.
Staging.
Right, I'm trying to find one with the staging in place. So the auditorium is obviously a very high workspace, and there's a lot of work that needs to happen in the ceiling prior to getting to this kind of, getting to the finishes on the floor. So what we end up doing is erecting what we call a dance floor. So essentially it is a working platform that spans the entirety of the auditorium and stage area, 40 feet in the air so that we can let our guys do the work that they need to. And we actually do that in 2 different levels. So they'll put all the mechanicals in place first, then we'll drop it down another 10 feet, allow them to put the acoustical clouds in place, and then we kind of drop to that final level. So I don't have a great picture of the staging, but I'll show you what it looks like now. Why does this not go? There we go here. All right. So this is the auditorium in its current state. So again, we've removed the staging for that dance floor platform, but that's what allowed our guys to do the work up high, right? So all these soffits, these acoustical clouds that are all curved to kind of make sure that the acoustics are exactly what you'd want to have in the auditorium. We've also started to build these kind of low masonry walls. And now we're getting ready for, there's a bunch of millwork on the sides along the proscenium, which is to say the front of the stage, and then we'll have the actual seating installed in a few months or in a few weeks.
What Mateo was saying earlier was that where you see those clouds and these soffits above that is ductwork, lighting controls, sprinkler systems, and they're even going through the clouds. So they had a lot of, I always say that the auditorium is like a separate job.
Right.
There's a lot of activities in an auditorium. Plus you have sound system and lighting that's part of this. So it's a lot of coordination in an auditorium. But
right, that first level that we worked on was probably about 5 feet above this soffit that you see. And then we dropped it down so that they were approximately 7 feet below those clouds, so that they could work on those elements. And then we removed the staging. But as of a month ago, you couldn't see any of this because it was all under a huge scaffold, plywood scaffolding.
maybe you want to talk a little bit about the exterior, where we're at.
Yeah, sure. Let me find a good picture of the exterior. So the exterior is kind of a combination of masonry, so there's a lot of brickwork, a lot of precast. There's also a lot of metal panels. There's insulated metal panels and ACM. So in general, the construction of the facade followed our general construction. So B and C are kind of the furthest along, and I'm sure we have some photos that I can show of first floor. So let's go to the north elevation. All right. So this was quite a ways back. Right, so we're looking at, from the north side, we're looking at B and C buildings, those academic wings. So here you see that most of the masonry has been installed, the brickwork. The parts that you're seeing above, you're seeing kind of the AVB that's behind. The AVB is the air vapor barrier that's going to be behind of the metal panels. So the metal panels at this point hadn't been installed. And now let's see. Yeah, I don't think I have one of the present. There's the old school. Let me see if I can find a different spot. Yeah, I don't have anything super. Doesn't look like I have anything too recent. Yeah.
All right, well, people can see it as we drive around.
You can, right. You'll be able to see on this side. Most of that, all that of the ACM has been installed on the B and C buildings, as well as the insulated metal panel.
I just wanted to, you can hear me, right? I just want also to mention, some people have talked about are there any activities for the old high school? We're working with administration and talking about what I term the turning off the light ceremony. So there'll be ceremonies, I believe, in June. High school will be active till the end of June, but there'll be a concert, I believe, in the middle of June. I think there'll be a tour that will be part of that concert. That hasn't been confirmed yet, so there might be, probably a day's worth. And they're talking about having sort of a, as I had said earlier, we're going to do a lot of reclaiming, but there might be some items that are not coming over to the new school because either they're being replaced or we're kind of, as I said, culling out materials, but we may have an auction of materials that are left here that are kind of unique, but are not part of the educational program that people might have sentimental value to it, so activities. Other things, just so people in the town know, that all the recognition boards that are out there, whether it's sports, academics, the athletics, as I said, the music program, all of those recognitions are coming over, and we have cases that we install for that. Some of them are actually being brought over, existing, and Consigli is going to be refurbishing some of those items. So, and then again, sometime in August, we're hoping in August, we have to get a confirmation from the Mass School Building Authority. We'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony. I've talked with Julie Miller, the principal, about training some of her students to do tours. So after we have the ribbon cutting and after the speeches, we're hoping to have tours for the town of Stoughton citizens to come in from, say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night. So people can come and sign a guest book and walk through the building and get to see the building before the kids come in. Again, it's up to the MSBA. Some ribbon cuttings have come after the kids have come in, but we'll make arrangements that way. Joel, you have a question?
Hey, Mateo, can you get a shot of the cafeteria and that inside area? Because that to me is the most startling.
Oh, you're
Sure,
talking.
sure.
Well,
So
there-
yeah, so this is actually what I'm on right now.
That's coming from the rear, so it's hard to see, but
So I mean, so this is the main cafeteria area out here. So this is kind of the. So this is the main thoroughfare, kind of leading in between of the B and C building in A1 and A2. So up above you see the translucent panel, which is a pretty major feature of the building. So you'll be able to get kind of natural sunlight throughout the year.
Doesn't do justice unless you're in the building.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to.
Skylight.
Yep. And then here is where the main cafeteria is going to be, and out to this side, this is where the administrative wing will be. Up above us and kind of to the right, that's where the gymnasium is, and then directly behind us is the auditorium. So this is where the majority of our work right now is taking place, right? We're all kind of heading towards this area. I think right now we probably have, I'd say approximately like 140, 150 workers on site on a given day. We were up at maybe 170 at kind of the peak, but now we're starting to kind of come down a little bit, right? That once some of these finishes start to take off, like flooring, that might jump back up to 170, 180. Yeah. And it's been an extraordinarily safe job as well, right? Which is worth mentioning. So we actually did have our first incident of the job. A gentleman hurt his foot and wasn't able to return to work. But prior to that, we had over 600 days without a lost time incident. And given the amount of work, I mean, millions of labor hours being put in place, it's really a testament to the guys that were here and kind of the care that they took to make sure that they were doing their job safely. So it's
90th week construction.
yeah. So we are at 90 weeks now in terms of construction, and we're about 12 weeks from really being done with the building itself, right, and getting ready to turn over to the owner. Yeah.
All set? Joel, any other questions?
Yeah, can you guys tell everybody about where in the building SMAC will be able to have live heat?
Yeah. So there is a TV studio that we've built. It is on the third floor in C building. So I can show it. Oh, black box.
Everybody getting that? So we're in coordination with our instructor here who's in charge of the TV studio, and we cooperate with SMAC on that. There is also drops within the black box theater. There's drops and cameras already in the auditorium. We're going to be reviewing that. We have a meeting, I think, next Thursday with SMAC and in-house people here at the school, and also in the gymnasium. So the gymnasium, just quickly, kind of a round thing, the gymnasium bleachers hold 1,100. So in the future, if you're having an indoor event like a graduation, without even putting chairs on the floor, you have 1,100 seating, and you have capability of sound and lighting there. So we actually have multiple locations, but in general, I think majority of the SMAC involvement will be in the auditorium, gymnasium, and the black box theater. There'll be some events, I think, through the TV studio, but I don't know if we can find. We're still working on the TV studio. TV studio will be state of the art, but it's really more for a classroom for the students. You know, you'll have a green screen, you'll have the, the studio monitoring system, et cetera. But that's about it. What was the other question, Joel? I'm sorry. Oh, yes, sir.
Concerning the gymnasium,
Yes.
you said seating for 1,100.
Yes.
Where are the bleachers? Both sides?
Both sides.
Both sides. How many scoreboards?
Bleachers one.
Yeah, one major scoreboard.
One major court?
Pardon?
One court?
No, well, one major court. And then
two
if you remember, there was a divider that you could have seen on that ceiling when Mateo was showing. There'll be a netting so you can separate, so you'll have a basketball court on each side to have physical education classes there too.
So this is kind of the general layout of the gymnasium, right? So here's that main court with bleacher seating on both sides. And then, as Don mentioned, there is a net that you can drop so as to divide the gymnasium in two, and you can have multiple games
So
for
you can have seating
basketball
at the end of the court?
or volleyball. No.
No,
Is that the way it looks?
no.
Nope. So it's running.
They want to run it, yeah.
The main
Oh, I see. It's that
is
way.
running this way. Yep.
Yep.
But then you have the option of kind of separating this with a mesh partition, and then you can have two games of volleyball, basketball.
And you couldn't see it because it hasn't been hung yet, but there are gantries there that have netting that lift wrestling mats up and the gymnastic mats up off the ground. Mateo talked about the batting netting that they can drop down so they can do some of their batting work. There's a fitness room below. That's where the lockers are, and all the physical education programs below there.
So what you're saying is that we have the main court going east to
That's
west,
right,
left to
yes.
right,
Yep.
and two side courts.
Two side courts during
Two side
physical
courts to be
education
used.
courses. There's obviously it's not just basketball; they have volleyball, et cetera, going on there.
I'm primarily concerned with basketball.
I-
I run the program in Stoughton.
Gotcha.
So, as far
No,
as
you
concerned,
have a great facility. When you see it, it'll be
Yeah.
If I can use it.
it'll be. Let's say it's a little bit bigger than the facility you have right now.
50%.
So,
Wow. Yep. So here's that first floor area that Dom mentioned. So you have the locker rooms, fitness room, weight room. That's where the coaches' offices will be as well.
any other questions? Oh, please. Joel, yes.
Are you guys gonna talk about the traffic patterns?
Yeah, we actually talked briefly this morning. So, Mateo, you want?
Yeah, sure.
Here, grab this.
So in this upcoming fall, that's kind of when Consigli and the current school will swap locations, right? So that's when we're going to turn over the building proper, and then we will move our construction fence to surround the current existing school, so that we can begin abatement and demolition, and eventually do the site work and the new fields that we need to construct. So this will be kind of the temporary logistics that take place during that interim phase. So we'll still have our Consigli's construction trailer here. But other than that, all the remaining construction trailers will be moved out. And then we have parent drop-off is in the green. So I believe this will also be kind of like the Q location. But you'll come off of Adams and then coming counterclockwise around and then exiting through this entrance. In the pink, you have the special education. So this will be their bus loop just to the south side of the building, and then again exiting here. And then in yellow, you have the remainder of the bus drop off. So they'll be using a different entrance and exit. So coming in off of Adams, a little bit closer to Clapp Street, queuing up for drop off here, and then coming around closer to the middle school and exiting that way.
And this is, you can say, this has been reviewed by the public safety. We
Correct.
had a meeting with police, fire,
Yep.
and the bus services to go through this.
Yep.
So this is the fall as the students come in. So then there's a next phase, which is the spring of 2020.
Yeah, and essentially the same. I mean, it's pretty clean in terms of how we are. You know, the kind of divide between our construction site and the school proper. So really that, what we just discussed here stays in place in the spring until we finally turn over the entire site. And so this is what you have for your final logistics plan, right? So you have your parent drop-off coming off of Pearl, and then this is kind of the drop-off loop. And then they can either exit through Adams, or they can also come over here and then still exiting through Adams. And then your bus loop will be the same as that loop.
Where's the parking for the gymnasium and auditorium?
All of this.
Yeah, parking area.
Sort of within walking distance.
You had mentioned the number of spaces compared to the existing?
I,
In the final,
I believe we have an additional 100 and something, right?
So there's no
I'm not
buffer.
sure of the exact number, but there isn't.
There is
There's more
than
parking
now.
here.
So,
Yep.
Guarantee you that.
Yep.
In this coming fall, there'll be a numbering system because we will not be turning, well, we're trying to get as many parking spots prepared anyways, but we'll have them numbered so that in the fall, people won't be all over the place trying to find parking. So Julie Miller is working on that right now, and Consigli will work with us to put numbering as we do the work during the summer, get ready for the fall entrance of the students and faculty.
Let's go back to the initial phase. He actually brings up an interesting question. The initial phase will go through the winter.
Yes.
So if there's a varsity basketball game or a couple of varsity basketball games and people want to go to it, where do they park?
So they'll have.
Not that phase, the first one.
So you'll have this parking lot. Yeah.
That's a swap to the, what's the distance between the parking lot and the gymnasium?
I'd say about good 300
Yeah,
yards.
probably. Yeah, I'd say probably a little bit more than that. I mean, there will be the parking here as well, which is right off of the gymnasium. But I mean, this is the main entrance that you're going to be
Yeah,
using.
you'll have an entrance on this side, you know, so this lot is right next to the middle school, right?
Yep.
And you'll have some of these spots available. Most of your games like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Or,
Pardon me?
for the varsity you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's like in the afternoon, at midday, about 3:30.
Okay.
It's a freshman.
So you'll have, you know, by 2:20 is your dismissal, I believe,
Well, yeah.
about 2:20. So pretty much everybody's out of here by 2:30, it seems. They're gone. So this parking lot will be available. These spots will probably be available as well. And you're basically going down to this, and you're going to be entering here to get to your gymnasium.
Yep.
So it's shorter than going to the garden.
I'm going. I can go to a basketball game and afford it here, can't have.
Yeah, well, as I said. Any other questions?
And that's all going to be handicapped accessible, right?
Everything is handicapped accessible, everything is climate controlled. like I said, if you have a big playoff event here and you do use all 1,100 seats, we can adjust the temperatures in there and get some, some fresh air in that facility.
Dom, on the phased parking that you were just talking about here, how is that going to be transmitted to all the parents?
Thank you. So this is the first time we've actually showed some of these renderings. Some people know about them already, but I'm going to send electronically to Julie Miller to include into the district. We'll send it out in the electronic backpack, and I already talked to our social media person here, and she will have it up on Facebook and a couple of other websites that are part of the district school. So you'll see them within the next week. Well, thank you very much.
Well, wait a minute, I'm not done yet. So that first
He's a
phase
shill.
He's no, he asked good.
The committee that is building this.
I think
I
he's
know.
trying
I
to
ask
ask.
these questions sometimes, they don't get answered, so now's my opportunity.
Oh,
So, I remember I was at the meeting with the fire department and the police department. And one of the things that they were afraid of is that parents would go through the parking lot near the middle school. and come
Right,
up
right.
that street there, and they didn't really
Yeah.
want that.
yes, it's right here, yeah. So we're putting a barrier here.
All right, so the students can park in that back lot there,
Yep.
the middle school lot.
Yep.
And they can walk to the
Yep.
building. But the parents cannot drive through.
They can't drive through so they could do a shortcut to get to Cushing, no. Because at the same time, your middle school is also dropping off and picking up in the afternoon. So we're trying to mitigate any clusters that could happen because they're taking shortcuts. Yes, sir.
I noticed the band was talking about constructing
The tower.
a tower.
The tower was approved.
It was approved?
It was approved, and it'll be located in this area here. We're taking, this island here is now going to be asphalt island, so it'll be flush, but it'll be painted out, so people know that it's an island. That way that the marching band activity can work. You have to look at it as a triangle. But we were coordinating with John Mange from Fine Arts, and he's very happy. So that was approved, and this gives the opportunity. I like, not a lot of high schools do this, but it seems like Stoughton High School has a lot of opportunities for the kids in the marching band also play sports. So as they're working, doing sporting events on the field, they can have the marching band work over here. But, when there's time, the marching band will be on the athletic fields.
There was a safety concern also because of the middle school. Is it going to be a fence around it? Or?
Yeah, the way the structure works is that there's ways of blocking that around. So, yeah. And if after we look at it, once it's installed, we think we need something additional like a fence around that, a smaller fence around that, we will have it installed.
But there is a lockable entrance to the actual structure itself.
But I know 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds can move around pretty quick. So we'll try to prevent it as much as we can. Climbing, yes, yeah. The other thing too, and if you've seen those renderings last month in our school building committee, we talked about the plantings. So when this tower goes in, it's about 24 feet high. The trees around them are about 16 feet, so they haven't matured. They're a small caliber, but within about 4 to 5 years, they'll be about 40 feet. So they'll tower over the tower. So you won't see them as much. It'll be prominent the first couple of years.
Thank you.
And we'll try to make it a low visibility tower, meaning that we won't have bright yellow. We'll have something green, pale green or pale blue, something like that. They'll kind of blend.
Matte black.
Matte black. Yes, Carol?
Will delivery trucks follow that same traffic pattern?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Delivery trucks.
For the
Delivery?
Will follow the
Yeah.
same pattern as parent traffic?
The delivery trucks, your loading dock area is where the yellow line is, the bus line there. But we made it wide enough. I'm going to go over here real quick. We made it wide enough, and I think what we'll have is, like, I think, if I'm right, this is the loading dock area, right, Mateo? Yeah. if I'm right, we'll have this basically as a stop here, and they can start here as far as queuing up their buses. So this loading dock, but you can drive by the buses as they are parked to the side. It's wide enough for 2 lanes of driving. So I know your vehicles usually come in around 6 to 7, roughly,
Yeah,
okay?
well, my concern is more about like the Coca-Cola truck coming in
Yep.
at 7:20 when parent drop off is. Or,
Well, first of all, he's going to have to queue up through, but he could get beside it. But the concerns are always is that, you know, the reason we're talking about having the buses right up against here, because there's a sidewalk, and they disembark on the sidewalk and walk either to the high school, or they can, you know, we get the buses out here, they can walk right to the middle school too. So, obviously, your delivery guys know it's a school, it's active, people do cross back and forth, so they have to be, you know, 15 miles an hour coming in here. So, but you have room here for 2 vehicles to back in. So, we thought about that, and the length of a trailer.
some of my deliveries left because of parent drop off.
Yeah.
Because they can't sit, they can't,
Right.
they're on schedule as well, and parents don't move, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
But
Right.
when I have a delivery.
Well, that's the reason why we're dedicating this line to the buses, and then you see the green is going to be for parents. Yeah. It's a work. Yeah, that's right. You know, this is the best solution we have right now, and as we always say, that I've done 2 of these schools now. September into October, we get the kinks out, you know, as far as the drop-offs. People get used to it. Some people come a little earlier. Some of your vendors will come earlier. You know, so.
Good, thank you.
One other question.
Yes, sir.
On the 2 artificial turf fields.
Yes. No. One artificial
One
turf.
artificial.
The football field is an artificial. The soccer field is a natural grass field.
What's the expected life on the artificial?
The artificial, if it's properly maintained, is 11 to 12 years. Okay? We have equipment, it's part of your, right. We have equipment as far as the, what they call, it's like a beater. So after 90 hours of play, you have to beat it up again, because what happens, it gets matted down, and the whole idea is the impact for the students playing on that field. If it's matted down, then it's like hitting concrete. But if it's beat up, you're protecting the kids right now. So every 90 hours, even in the summer when you have practice, every 90, somebody's have to keep track of it preventively. We have vehicles that come out here and they beat it up. So the other thing too is disinfecting the fields after the 90 hours too. There's materials for that, and they basically wash it down with a hose. Some people felt like, oh, the sunlight's going to disinfect the field. It doesn't work that way. You have to maintain the fields. A little less maintenance for a grass field, but there's maintenance. It's just different. It's agricultural, obviously.
Milton High School has a artificial turf field that's about 15 years old. So if you're ever up at Milton High School, want to take a look at that field, you can figure out
Yeah.
what ours is going to look like in 15 years.
Well,
But you're right. But the average age is 11 years.
Yeah.
Now, again,
Range is replacing theirs.
yeah, how long have they had it?
A little bit about 10 years, they said.
10 years? Yeah. Again, it depends on how well they're maintained. Yeah, I've known, like Joel had just mentioned, I've known fields that between 15 and 20 years. I think WPI has a field that's 20 years old, and it looks great. But, they probably have one guy, and that's all he does. He takes care of the fields. So,
Mowing should be easy.
yeah. So, but also, we talked about bleachers here, but you can see here, you have a natural bowl coming off of Pearl. So these are the home bleachers, and then you have the away bleachers here. The press box will just be above Pearl Street. So a majority of the bleachers will be below the street line. And we're putting in, you can see it right here, a pocket park. So there's, so you just won't drive by and just see bleachers and walls. You'll have greenery around here too. That'll mature over the years. So
Snack bar, restrooms.
snack bar here, and that's where also all your restrooms are in this location here. The press box is up here. tennis courts down here. And see, there's a doorway that leads out of the locker room that, I think it's right about here, that you cross over and go into the fields. Obviously, soccer's different. They're going to have to come around a little bit. Any other questions? Thank you very much. There's lots of cookies. So if you want to take some.
I'll take another one.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.